But they're supposedly they took mom's car. The lady that lives here, they're in her car somewhere.
Okay.
Supposedly.
I did go missing. I said I'm not with a fugitive. I'm not abducted. I'm not missing. I'm not kidnapped. I'm about to be 18. I'm literally what's it called in Ohio is emancipated because I was living in an independent living house.
Child kidnappings and trafficking are serious problems in the U.S. It appears that more children go missing every day. However, often the reality is different from what it might seem.
That's kind of I read it as I'm coming down here. It's kind of a weird one.
It turns out that the person we thought was the victim is actually the murderer.
In Arizona, in a drive-by, I don't know who it was. Also committed 2 arsons in Arizona.
Let me tell you about a disturbing case.
He's been abducted from Ohio. And now this sweet old lady is missing. And your boyfriend runs off a gun. And you guys are fleeing to Mexico.
Today, we're delving into the true story of a teenager who vanished and the man believed to have taken her to Mexico. Welcome to the channel. In this episode, we explore a relationship that ended tragically, bringing devastating outcomes for everyone connected.
At this point, I sit down at the kitchen table and I'm looking at her and I'm like, what did you do? And she straight up told me she stopped her from being in the way of us being together. From there, we went, I don't know exactly what else she did. I confronted her about it, and she's like, I had to do it so we could be together.
From a family torn apart to a cross-country escape.
I've been to a couple Mexican restaurants. I've slept at a couple motels here and there. Like, that's it.
Join us as we unravel the events that led to this tragic incident. The story first hit the headlines on April 11th, 2023. The initial reports were shocking. A man had abducted a 17-year-old girl and fled to Mexico in his mother's car, and now his mother, Nicole Jones, was nowhere to be found. The media coverage was intense. A young girl at risk, an older man on the lam, and his missing mother. The story quickly spread. Caitlin Coons, only 17 years old, had been missing just a few hours before the police declared her a missing person and circulated her description to the public. Caitlin stood 160 centimeters tall, weighed about 50 kilograms, and had chestnut hair and green eyes. Last seen wearing a pink jacket and gray leggings, authorities advised the public not to approach Caitlin or Jonathan if spotted, but to immediately contact law enforcement. Media outlets, the community, and various activists quickly joined the search effort, all hoping to safely return Caitlin home. But how did this situation begin? It all started with a welfare check.
What was her name again?
Nicole Jones.
Nicole Jones was missing, a 53-year-old woman whose 33-year-old son, Jonathan, still lived with her.
So
at first I think it was a son that lived here with her.
Okay.
And I heard say he would have been in his 20s, but that was, time flies, I'd say at least 3-4 years ago.
Oh, okay. But you haven't seen him at all?
No, and you know the way these sit, you don't really see people.
Sure.
I just happened to, I'm having a lazy morning in my lazy boy reading the newspaper and I spotted the police car and I thought, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's probably nothing, but we just have to check. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jonathan was a veteran on disability, while 17-year-old Caitlin was unemployed.
What about Jonathan?
No, he does not either.
Okay.
And he gets what's it called though? He was in the military, so he gets what's it called?
Disability?
Yes.
Okay. In the military. What branch was he in?
I do not know.
You don't know?
Nicole was a loving and compassionate mother.
His mom is like a cool type of mom. Like she likes to play card games, go on walks, you know. When we were trying to, take her to Mexico.
But the question remains, what prompted the police to conduct a welfare check on Nicole Jones in the first place? The answer lies in the events just before the disappearance. The missing teenager, Caitlin Coons, had sent a message shortly before she vanished. Caitlin's life had been challenging. She had grown up in foster care, moving from one home to another.
Well, that's just because I ended up in the system.
In the foster care system? How did you end up in foster care?
I don't really want to talk about it.
Okay.
By the time she reached her teenage years, Caitlin was living in a group home in Ohio, and she was known for having a history of running away.
Were you missing at one point?
I was, last year.
Okay.
This wasn't the first time Caitlin had disappeared without notice. Just before she went missing, Caitlin sent a chilling text to her caseworker at the group home. In her message, she claimed to have killed 2 people, set the house on fire, and was now fleeing.
There's the son took the woman's car with the girlfriend. Okay, the girlfriend down there reported to her caseworker that they killed some lady and burned her house.
This was a startling claim from a 17-year-old girl, leaving everyone to question whether it was a desperate cry for help or a true confession. Meanwhile, the police were urgently trying to locate Nicole Jones, as the caseworker suspected that she might be one of Caitlin's alleged victims.
Has anybody seen her?
No. I've only seen a guy going in and out of there.
Calls went unanswered, and no one had seen her.
Well, I have all her phone numbers of people that live there, but it's her phone number.
Okay, but there's nothing listed when she moved in, like an emergency, contact this person, nothing like that?
No.
So the only way we're going to get in is knocking the door down.
When officers finally arrived to check on Nicole, they found she was nowhere to be found. With both Caitlin missing and Nicole unreachable, questions began to mount, transforming what started as a routine welfare check into a complex and unexpected case.
Is this the gentleman you've seen going in and out?
That looks familiar.
The police found themselves assembling a complex narrative. On one side was Caitlin Coons, a 17-year-old grappling with a challenging past.
It can't upset me. Nothing upsets me.
Okay. So you said you guys were boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes.
Her life was riddled with bad choices, and to top it all off, she never had the greatest of health.
So I ended up one day going out of the hospital and reading my file, and I asked the doctor, what happened, and he was like, oh, yeah, this happened to you.
Okay. I just have some more questions about you said you had an eating disorder earlier?
Yeah.
What kind? You said anorexia?
Yeah.
Okay. When did that start?
I've always had an eating disorder since I was younger, but I've been getting hospitalized really bad over it recently because...
She had disappeared once more, but this time, her disappearance was linked to Jonathan Jones. Jonathan was well known to law enforcement, having previously faced charges related to his dealings with young girls. His criminal history was troubling, and the fact that Caitlin was last seen with him only intensified concerns for her safety. Though Caitlin was nearing 18, she was legally still a child who could easily be influenced by someone adept at manipulation. Jonathan fit this profile perfectly, a man experienced in exploiting the innocence of the young.
What do you like about Jonathan?
I like that he's caring and understanding, and I feel like, nobody is like him at all.
Yeah.
I've never met somebody like him before.
What does he do to show you that he cares?
That he cares, he's always making sure that I eat and stuff, and we also had a cat or whatever, so he was always making sure the cat was okay and stuff, and he was always making sure his mom was okay too.
His mom?
Yes.
What's his mom's name?
Nikki.
Nikki?
Yes.
Okay.
The possibility that Caitlin had willingly gone with Jonathan did not lessen the risks she faced. The priority was clear. They needed to find her quickly. As the media circulated the story of a teenage girl abducted by an adult with a disturbing history, the police withheld certain details from the public. Officially, the situation was treated as an abduction, but behind closed doors, the authorities were aware of complexities in the case that they did not disclose.
That you had been abducted. Okay?
Okay, well, I was never abducted, so
Okay.
I need to talk to whoever said that.
Why would they have said that?
I don't know, because I told my caseworker I was going with him, so that's a misfollowed part on her behalf.
Right. And so, once again, that's...
I know, whenever I was, reading the newspapers after the Mexican police that they said, oh, fugitive is believed to be with runaway, and da-da-da, and I've been posting off my Facebook account. I talked to my local police. I even have the phone records in my phone. I talked to my local police. They said that they never had me as missing. I said, why didn't they put it out that I went missing this long ago? If I did go missing, I said, I'm not with a fugitive. I'm not abducted. I'm not missing. I'm not kidnapped. I'm about to be 18. I am literally like, literally what's it called in Ohio is emancipated, because I was living in an independent living house. I was allowed to do whatever I wanted to do.
Okay.
Because that's what they wanted me to do until I turned 18, so that they didn't have to do more paperwork.
Right.
So that's what I put on my Facebook, so I don't understand why that still isn't.
Was Jonathan in trouble for something? Is that why they were saying he was a fugitive?
I don't know why they said he was a fugitive. I know that as soon as we got to the police and we told them everything, they understood, and they just said that he was going to be in jail for 2 days.
The public was exposed to only one side of the narrative, the kidnapped teenager dominating media headlines. However, the police had a different perspective. They didn't believe Caitlin was in immediate danger. Their primary goal was to locate Nicole Jones, and they viewed finding Caitlin and Jonathan as the key to achieving that. Nicole was the true missing person they were desperate to find. This wasn't the first time Jonathan and Caitlin had been involved in such a scenario. They had a long-standing relationship that had previously drawn police attention. To fully grasp the dynamics between Jonathan and Caitlin, we need to look back to their initial encounter about a year ago when Jonathan found Caitlin on a dating website. According to Jonathan, it was Caitlin who first reached out to him.
She sent me a message, so I was like, all right, cool, I'll entertain the idea of the message and see what this is. Probably going to be a scam. I say, oh, spend some time with me, it's going to call, it always is on dating websites. Right. And then we started talking, and we hit it off.
And we hit it off instantly. And soon enough came the day when they met face to face.
You remember, when last year you met her?
It was the beginning of October.
When you saw each other the first time?
Yes, so actual face-to-face.
Okay. And then, so September, end of September, you guys you found each other on Maple too?
Yes.
Okay. And then how many times have you guys seen each other since, I guess, October?
Well, we were together for 2.5 weeks. I got arrested. Well, we both got picked up in Wood County for walking to a gas station at 5 o'clock in the morning to get something to drink and some cat food for a stray cat.
It was late at night on October 24th, 2022, when Ohio police noticed a pair near a truck stop and roadside cafe that seemed out of place. They observed a young girl walking with a man who appeared much older. Concerned, the officers decided to approach them to ensure everything was all right. As they got closer, the girl appeared nervous and initially gave a false name and birth date. However, the officers were diligent and persistent. Eventually, she revealed her true identity, Caitlin Coons, a 16-year-old runaway from a foster home. Further investigation revealed that Caitlin was supposed to be at the hospital and had no authorization to leave. Yet, she and Jonathan had devised a plan. Jonathan would park near the hospital, allowing Caitlin to slip away unnoticed. For Caitlin, it was another attempt at escape, but this time she was with someone whose intentions were far from benign. When the police examined Jonathan's phone, they uncovered a shocking discovery. What was even more alarming was that upon questioning, Jonathan confessed to having plans to sell the images found on his device. Following this discovery, Caitlin was immediately taken back into state custody, while Jonathan was arrested on charges related to endangering a child's life and the creation and distribution of inappropriate material involving a minor.
I found out about what happened. I was going to tell him. And he was like, okay. He was like, thank you. He was like, I don't think you understand how much it is when people think that I kidnapped you and done all this and da-da-da. And I was like,
Jonathan pled guilty, which was perceived as a minor win for law enforcement and those advocating for justice. However, in an unexpected turn of events, he was permitted to return home to await his trial. The court mandated a GPS tracker be attached to his ankle to monitor his whereabouts and explicitly forbade him from contacting Caitlin or coming near her. Nevertheless, releasing him proved to be a grave error, a realization that dawned on the authorities when subsequent events unfolded. Caitlin ended up in Mexico with Jonathan, while Nicole was still missing. The situation sparked a media storm with urgent appeals for the public's assistance in locating Caitlin. Finding Jonathan should have been straightforward with the ankle monitor in place. However, he managed to remove it before fleeing, complicating efforts to track him down and ensuring that the case took a more dramatic and distressing turn.
We took his ankle thing off and then we went on the run. And most of the way he was really struggling with it because it was his mom. And
As the search expanded, pieces of information about Jonathan and Caitlin's whereabouts began to converge. Authorities in Arizona reported sightings of the pair driving in Nicole's car, providing a critical lead in the ongoing investigation.
Her son took her car, and he was stopped down in Arizona with a female, a 17-year-old that's a missing runaway.
Jonathan was not only driving a vehicle registered to his missing mother, but he was also believed to be heading south, possibly crossing into Mexico. This movement confirmed suspicions that they had indeed made it to Mexico. After nearly a week on the run, on May 8th, Jonathan and Caitlin were spotted in northern Mexico, appearing conspicuously out of place amidst their surroundings.
Ciudad Juarez is the name of the town. It's one of the most dangerous cities in the entire world. Very deadly. And then Villa Amada is also a pretty dangerous area. It's what we call cartel country. So a little bit different, right?
The two were attempting to sell jewelry on the street.
you're going to go use the bathroom before, trying to sell jewelry.
Local police stopped to check on them, concerned that the man might be exploiting the young girl.
He was like, well, the two ages are really bad, and I was like, actually, I know it's actually legal in Mexico. The only time someone can be with someone above the age of 18 is if they're doing something sexually, then the person has to be 18 for someone to be dating somebody above 18. So I know that, and I told him that, and I was like, I know that, and we haven't been doing anything. I just came here with him, and he happens to be my boyfriend. And, back in Ohio, they already knew about it,
So without knowing the full story, the Mexican authorities took them in.
They became aggressive with me for no reason out of nowhere. Like, they literally just started yelling at me, and I couldn't understand them. And I was like, so I started yelling back at them, and then they started hitting me, pushing me, so I started doing it back, and then that's when they threw me on the ground and put me in handcuffs.
Little did they know, they had just taken into custody 2 American fugitives.
There's the son took the woman's car with the girlfriend. Okay, The girlfriend down there reported to her caseworker that they killed some lady and burned her house.
Oh, for God's sake.
So that's all we got, and he was on the phone, I think, with that detective in Canton. Why don't you hang out here with her and get that number, and then just come on over? Just wait with her and get her number.
Let me ask you this. Do you want her to call that guy?
Well, we'll call him.
So what happened was this dude was on bond for Wood County. The son.
Right.
He was supposed to show up for sentencing or something like that.
Okay.
This morning, the Border Patrol stops him in Douglas, Arizona.
Okay.
With a 17-year-old that's a missing juvenile.
And she's the one reporting the murder and arson.
But they also said they burned the house down, too.
Right.
But obviously the house ain't burned down.
Right.
So right now...
So we have no idea where she is.
We don't.
As Mexican authorities worked to confirm Jonathan and Caitlin's identities, they conducted a search of the car. It didn't take long for officers to find a small amount of marijuana. Since possession of marijuana remains illegal, this discovery led to Jonathan's immediate arrest. He was taken to the local jail for further questioning. Given that Caitlin was a minor and an American citizen, Mexican authorities coordinated with their U.S. counterparts, ultimately handing her over to U.S. police in El Paso, Texas, just across the border.
I'm a special agent here in El Paso with the FBI, and this is my partner, Hannah Massa.
Upon further investigation, officials found that Jonathan was not only driving his mother, Nicole's Buick Encore SUV, but he also possessed several of her personal items. These included her social security card, identification, credit cards, and even her medical insurance card. Despite these discoveries, the most crucial piece of the puzzle remained missing. Nicole Jones herself was still unaccounted for, deepening the mystery surrounding the entire case.
I don't know if they could have taken her, and if they're heading down to Arizona, already got what they wanted from her and ditched her somewhere. I'm hoping that's not the case.
As the situation unfolded, Caitlin took to social media to shape her own narrative, possibly in response to watching how the media portrayed her and Jonathan. Her posts seemed to suggest an attempt to distance herself from Jonathan, or perhaps a strategy to influence public perception while under police scrutiny. Her messages indicated a desire to present herself as independent and wrongfully implicated. On May 6th, just 2 days before Jonathan's capture in Mexico, Caitlin's post declared her presence in Ohio and her frustration with the media's portrayal, emphasizing her imminent adulthood and her disassociation from any wrongdoing. She protested, "I am not on the run, so stop saying I am. I'm literally in Ohio, about to be 18 and by myself. I don't know any Jonathan. I'm a new person, not like before. I've been doing really well, and you guys are trying to say I ran when I didn't. Please stop lying for one last time. I'm just trying to enjoy my life, and this happens. Like, come on, stop the drama. I'm in Ohio and not missing." The following day, she further distanced herself from Jonathan, expressing her displeasure with the false associations being made. "I don't know any Jonathan Jones, and you guys are putting us together. Shame on you people. You're telling people there's danger when he isn't causing it, and that's not civil or fair." By May 8th, however, her tone shifted as she reached out through social media, seemingly pleading to be returned to America, suggesting her situation had changed. The narrative confusion continued the next day when she mentioned needing a pickup in Texas after spending a night in a shelter, despite already being in custody. This series of posts could be seen as Caitlin's attempt to navigate the chaos around her, striving to assert her innocence and reshape her public image from a victim to a young woman caught in a complex situation. By May 13th, she had been officially arrested and repatriated to the U.S., adding another layer to the unfolding drama. Her social media activity played a pivotal role in the public and legal interpretation of the events, illustrating the complexities of identity and truth in the digital age.
I came to Mexico because I was looking for a new beginning, and then out of nowhere they started posting stuff, and that's when the Mexican police were also like, "Why is it showing all this?" And I was like, "I don't know, like they just now started putting things up like that."
What led Caitlin to Mexico with Jonathan? The roots of this situation trace back to April 2023, when Caitlin once again left the group home. This time, Jonathan was ready, waiting to pick her up from a restaurant and take her to his house. Remarkably, Nicole, Jonathan's mother, was unaware that Caitlin was living under the same roof. Jonathan managed to sneak Caitlin in through the back door to keep her presence hidden from his mother, who had always disapproved of his relationship with Caitlin due to the significant age difference. Under different circumstances, as Caitlin approached her 18th birthday, their relationship might have transitioned into a more open one. However, given the current complexities, their situation remained fraught and secretive, leading to further complications and decisions that would have far-reaching consequences.
Well, when you're in the system, they get to decide what you can have, who you can contact, who you get to call, and all that.
Okay, thank you.
But since I was about to be 18, I was about to be emancipated.
Caitlin seemed torn between her disdain for Nicole's disapproval and the excitement of covertly living with Jonathan. She hinted at this on social media, posting, "Life is great when you have your own home in Ohio, if only his mother weren't present." This statement reflected her mixed feelings about the secrecy required for her living situation. Caitlin Kuhn's life was one that few could comprehend fully. Her upbringing in the foster care system exposed her to unique challenges that shaped her in profound ways, making her experiences difficult for most people to relate to. Her life was anything but typical, marked by the often harsh realities faced by children within the foster system, a narrative of resilience amid considerable adversity. During her interrogation, Caitlin starkly separated herself from the alarming text message she had sent to her caseworker, suggesting a complex layer of emotions and perhaps strategies at play in how she managed her identity and survival within her challenging circumstances.
Okay, so we do have some more questions. Tell me about this Facebook message that you sent.
What's this?
It talks about 2 murders and some arsons.
This is when my ex hacked into my account. I can write you his name down here.
It's a China thing.
Investigators then informed her that Nicole was missing.
Okay, but like, you understand he has access to be able to hack it.
So let me finish.
Okay.
It says you killed 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
We can't find Nikki. We don't know where she's at.
I didn't know she was missing.
And you guys have her car?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys had all of her credit cards?
I didn't know that he had her credit cards.
So how do you think it makes us think when there's that and a missing woman?
I didn't know she went missing. I misthinking. I used to think that, you know, we killed her, but I didn't know that she went missing. Damn. So who killed her?
Okay, we don't know. We don't know.
No, but I want to know who killed her because she was a nice mom.
Okay, so I'm saying we know she's hasn't been seen for a while, and this says we killed 2 people. We don't know that she's dead.
Okay, but you're putting that on me when I thought that she was doing perfectly fine and everything, and I told you I didn't send those messages. He's been able to hack my account.
So what we're trying to figure out is what happened and where she could be.
I don't know.
They believe Jonathan killed his mother for her money.
And if Jonathan is somehow associated with her going missing, or worse than that, her being dead.
He wouldn't do that. He cared about her. He made sure that me and her ate. Like, he made meals for us and was trying to get his mom to eat and stuff. Like, she wouldn't eat just because, like, her dentures.
Then they tell her about Jonathan's confession and told the people that his mom was dead.
And told the people that his mom was dead.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Sure did. So, Caitlin, we want to help you.
Right.
And we recognize that you're 17 and that you have a lot of life left. And we want to do what we can to help you.
Right.
And I mean that sincerely. I'm not being a cop.
He really did that?
Yes, yes.
He went to, like...
Came to a pawn shop here in El Paso, gave him the gun, and said his mom's dead.
Caitlin was completely shell-shocked.
I didn't know he did that. I didn't know there was a gun. I didn't know his mom was dead. Like, I don't know what you guys want me to say.
We just want the truth. We want to help. That's all. We just want to help you.
Caitlin then asked a peculiar question.
Caitlin, tell us what happened.
No, I'm being serious. I don't know what happened. That's the reason why I'm asking. Did you guys find her body?
That's why we need your help. Because you just told me that this woman was such a sweet lady that opened her doors to you. And I think she deserves to be remembered properly, right?
I didn't know she was dead, so I don't know where the body's at. And I didn't know that she was dead. Like, literally when we left the house and everything, she was fine. Like, she was literally laying in bed on her phone.
The investigators busted her bubble. They saw her not as a victim, but a suspect in a murder case.
How old is Jonathan?
33.
Okay, so a 33-year-old and a 17-year-old who's been abducted from Ohio.
Caitlin was visibly shaken, but she was still denying any involvement.
Not only do we have the pawn shop owner's statement,
investigators tried to caress her into a confession.
We have the gun now, and then we also have video surveillance putting you guys at the pawn shop.
I know we went to the pawn shop or whatever, but I didn't know about the gun. I knew that was he wanted to pawn something to get money to be able to go into Mexico. That's all I knew, because they said that there's border where you have to pay to get in.
Right, right. We also have another pawn shop where I'm sure that you know other items were pawned off at that one too. And Hannah's right. So when we talk to him, and he's going to try to point the finger at you.
Jonathan is still in Mexican custody, but very soon he will be on American soil.
Before he tells it for you.
It was on me. I told him that I gave him 5 hours.
Nicole was aware of what was happening. It didn't sit right with her. After all, 33-year-old men typically don't hang out with 17-year-old girls.
She just was not happy about that at all. She was like, no, as long as you're living under my roof, not happening, blah, 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 blah.
Caitlin snuck into Jonathan's house on April 11th. They lived under the same roof with his mother, Nicole. As Jonathan and Caitlin spent more time together in Nicole's house, things took a dark turn.
I'm not about to do that. Like, like, I love you, I want to be with you, and I don't care, like, what she has to say about it. Like, I'll straight up, you know, hit her, like, I don't care. And then, you know, it was like a couple hours that he was gone for, that he was talking to his mom, apparently.
Just 8 days later, on April 19th, Caitlin allegedly gave Jonathan an ultimatum. Your mother...
If your mom tries to stop us from being together, then I will take action in my own hand. Not knowing exactly what she meant by that or anything, kind of a vague statement.
She had given him a clear ultimatum, 5 hours to act. When those hours slipped by without any progress, her patience thinned. She gave him one final hour before she would intervene. As time continued to pass, it became evident that Jonathan was not prepared to follow through with her drastic demands. Unwilling to wait any longer, Caitlin decided to act on her own, setting in motion a series of events that would rapidly spiral out of control. Jonathan was seated in the living room, seemingly unaware of the tense atmosphere. Meanwhile, Nicole was in the kitchen, innocently standing in front of an open refrigerator. Oblivious to the dangers lurking in her own home, she didn't realize there was a third person present, a person whose intentions were dark and potentially deadly.
Okay, so it was a shock to her that you were in the house?
I'm pretty sure that's what shocked her whenever I went to go kill her.
Because she wasn't expecting you in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
All I remember is that she dropped her flavored water on the ground.
Okay.
Caitlin moved stealthily, remaining out of sight as she approached Nicole. When she was close enough, she seized Nicole by the neck. With a rock in hand, Caitlin struck Nicole once, then again, repeatedly, in a sudden and violent outburst.
Is that what those scratches are on your arm?
I don't know what these are.
No. Remember?
Caitlin, driven by a singular focus to get it done, ignored the typical kitchen implements, like a rolling pin or frying pan, that one might expect to find. Instead, she grabbed a rock, a decidedly unusual choice for a kitchen setting, but the one she deemed suitable for her grim purpose. The shock and horror that must have enveloped Jonathan as he entered the kitchen and discovered his mother motionless can hardly be fathomed. The scene would have been a jarring contradiction to the mundane safety of what a kitchen usually represents, forever altering his reality.
Well, when I come back in, firstly, when I'm outside, I hear something. I don't know exactly what it was, but definitely sounded like a voice struggling.
The voice struggling?
Yeah, like somebody getting hit or something. It just, through the door and everything, it just sounded like you can't really tell exactly what they were saying or anything. So I hurried and finished my cigarette, and when I went in, okay.
You think he would try to help his mom, or at least call the police. But no, instead, Jonathan and Caitlin jumped into Nicole's car and drove off.
And I immediately went into shock and
They made stops at 2 different stores to purchase a tarp and garbage bags, clearly planning to eliminate any trace of what had transpired. The most incriminating evidence they needed to dispose of was Nicole herself. It is startling to consider that Jonathan could engage in such ordinary activities like shopping right after such a horrific event.
Is it like a local Walmart? Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, how far is the Walmart from her house?
I don't know.
Okay. And then you said you double wrapped all of that and then put it in her trash. And then the trash came out, was picked up the next day? Okay. What about, did you keep her in the same clothes?
Nicole had prepared meals for Jonathan his entire life. She'd given him shelter and love.
Toledo, Ohio, so I can say live in Toledo. I don't know, it's like right on the thing of Toledo, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Thank you for giving me that. So, how did you get her body from the house to the house?
We took her car.
Okay, where did you put the body?
In the back seat.
In the back seat. So I'm not familiar with the car.
In the trunk.
In the trunk. Okay, so in the very back. Okay.
Then they drove to an apartment complex nearby and tossed her into a dumpster.
Okay, so then you put her body. Jonathan had to have helped you.
No, he didn't. I got her all the way in, halfway, and then I was like, I need help, and then he couldn't do it, so I had to push her feet in. But it was all me.
Okay.
The only part he helped in any of what happened is driving to Mexico.
She insisted that Jonathan had no involvement in disposing of the body. This part of her confession seemed somewhat rehearsed, as if she had prepared her statement in advance. She made a concerted effort to dissociate him from any criminal activities, attempting to shield him from potential blame or legal repercussions.
Because he said that, to be able to get in Mexico, it needs to be an adult driving.
After the couple's arrest, the police discovered a backpack with red stains, prompting them to obtain a search warrant for Nicole's house. During their search, they found what appeared to be traces of blood on the kitchen floor, particularly near and under the refrigerator. This evidence was further corroborated by data from Jonathan's phone and his Apple Watch, which matched the couple's account of where they had disposed of Nicole's body. The digital footprints left by their devices made it difficult for them to deny their involvement. It seemed that no matter how they tried to cover their tracks, the evidence of their actions and their movements was irrefutably documented, leaving them with little room to escape accountability.
Me to be able to touch him or anything. He just wanted to do his own thing in the back of the car and like the back seats away from me.
Why didn't he call the cops then?
I think the reason why he didn't call the cops is because when we got arrested back in Wood County, back in, I think it was October or whatever, Wood County is like a really bad county for charges, like the charges that he got. He got a charging for kidnapping and
Involved you?
What? Yeah, and they wouldn't let me testify or say anything because of my age, and I kept telling them, like, I will tell them.
This raises a glaring question. Why didn't they simply run away? Why resort to murdering an innocent woman simply because she disapproved of their relationship? Such drastic actions point to deeper issues or desperation, challenging any understanding of their motives as mere defiance or anger.
And you loved him?
It didn't make sense. The couple was found with Nicole's credit and debit cards along with her car.
Okay, 3 or 30?
3.
Where did you do that? Where did that happen?
At like a whole bunch of different banks of ATMs.
Okay. Was it all in Ohio or was it?
It was as we were passing through every state.
Okay.
And I think yes, yeah.
Yes. Did you stay in a hotel? So you did stay in the car the whole time?
While all these events were unfolding, Caitlin sent a text to her caseworker at the group home, claiming she had killed 2 people. At that time, Caitlin and Jonathan were in Arizona, attempting to cross into Mexico. They were briefly detained by Arizona police, but were released shortly thereafter. It has been established that the first person Caitlin claimed to have killed was Nicole, but the identity of the second victim remains a mystery, adding another layer of complexity and urgency to the investigation.
In a drive-by, I don't know who it was. Also committed 2 arsons in Arizona in the middle of nowhere. Don't know what that was either.
The second victim was a man from Arizona.
Okay. I tried talking her out of it. She said that if I couldn't accept that she wanted to do that, then she didn't want to be together. And me at this point, not having anybody else in the world, only having her, was like, all right, let's go for a drive. I purposely went down like neighborhoods and stuff that people would not have been out at that time.
Your own time?
It was 5 or 6 in the morning.
He was just an innocent bystander, waiting at a bus stop.
And then you guys just took off. Okay.
As Caitlin and Jonathan drove by, Caitlin fired at him, but there was no drive-by death reported in Arizona in that time frame.
And I don't think she hit anybody.
What did she say after?
I don't know what happened. I just remember pulling out the gun out of the window and shooting.
Was it a male, woman, old, young?
I think it was a woman.
Woman. Do you remember how old she looked?
She looked old and she had glasses and she was by she had a vest on.
Okay. Did you see her fall to the ground? No? Are you sure that it hit her?
I was so quick to get out of there because of the loud shot.
Were you in the car? Were you in the car? Were you?
I was in the driver's seat.
You were in the driver's seat?
Yeah.
Luckily, her attempt missed and the man was unharmed. The randomness of her actions piqued the interest of investigators who were eager to understand the motive behind the chaos. In addition to her claims about the killings, Caitlin also mentioned committing arson in the text message, further complicating the narrative and deepening the mystery of her intentions.
A flammable spray or whatever, I lit it up with a torch and threw it out the window and it blew up in the grass. And then I also took a pair of my socks and I drenched them in the stuff and I threw it out.
Okay, did it hit somebody's property or was it like a field or a house?
It was public property.
Okay, so not like a building, it was just open fields. Was it on the side of the road? Where was it?
One was by a movie theater.
Okay.
And then the other, I don't know where the other one was at.
What was the flammable thing that you used, do you remember?
It was stuff you use for a cookout.
Like a spray? So, oh, like gas? Lighter fluid? Okay. What made you do that? Okay, and that's okay.
When Jonathan Jones was finally extradited to the U.S. and faced questioning, no video of his police interview was available, but excerpts from the audio were released to the public. During the interrogation, Jonathan was notably uncooperative and quickly demanded to speak with his lawyer. However, the investigators had a crucial piece of evidence in their possession that they revealed just as they were about to leave the room. They informed him that they had CCTV footage of him selling Nicole's gun and several of her personal items at a pawn shop in Texas. They also shared the shop owner's testimony with him. This revelation came after a tumultuous period for Jonathan, which included being implicated in his mother's murder, a cross-country escape in a stolen vehicle, and spending 2 nights in a Mexican jail. Confronted with undeniable evidence from the Texas pawn shop, Jonathan's resolve crumbled, and he broke down, overwhelmed by the mounting evidence linking him to the crimes.
I decided that I'd rather talk to you guys instead of wait for a lawyer about the mom thing.
So I'm going to let you kind of know the topic of discussion, so I'm going to let you say what you want to say, and then if we have questions, we'll ask questions.
I was trying to cover for Caitlin by telling you I didn't know about my mom.
Okay.
He came out clean about the ultimatum and described how he found out that Caitlin Nicole.
At this point, I sit down at the kitchen table and I'm looking at her and I'm like, what did you do? And she straight up told me she stopped her from being in the way of us being together.
The gruesome details of Nicole's demise were apparent from the blood splatter analysis, and in his confession, Jonathan outlined their meticulous efforts to clean the scene and dispose of Nicole's body. They dumped her body in a dumpster, the contents of which were transported the next day to a landfill in Michigan, shortly before the couple fled to Mexico. As time passed, the likelihood of recovering Nicole's remains grew increasingly slim. Buried in a landfill, her body was subject to the relentless processes of decomposition and the mechanical mixing from the heavy machinery used to manage the landfill, effectively diminishing any chance of retrieval. Amidst this grim backdrop, Caitlin found herself being tried as an adult, facing severe potential penalties. Although minors are exempt from the death penalty, she was at risk of receiving a sentence ranging from 25 years to life imprisonment. Jonathan, despite not personally committing the murder, faced the same charges as Caitlin due to his involvement. Additionally, his record was marred by prior charges and a new robbery charge related to their attempts to flee, culminating in his bail being set at an astronomical $1 million. In her initial interview regarding the case, Caitlin Coons asserted full responsibility for Nicole's murder.
All on her own as well, a claim the state would have proven was false and done in part.
Prosecutors argued that Caitlin's statement was part of a plan between her and Jonathan Jones.
Mr. Jones was asking Caitlin to take full responsibility for the murder, to receive a lesser sentence since she was a juvenile, in the hopes that he would then also receive a lesser sentence.
Nearly a year after her initial confession, Caitlin's narrative shifted significantly. In this new account, she attributed the bulk of the responsibility to Jonathan. Caitlin described a chilling scene. She claimed to have heard Nicole Jones screaming and gurgling, and she waited, paralyzed, for the terrifying sounds to cease. After the ordeal, she alleged that she saw Jonathan with his hands still around his mother's neck. He then turned to Caitlin, imploring her for assistance. This alteration in her story introduced a complex layer of complicity and perhaps an attempt to recalibrate her role in the events, suggesting a dynamic of coercion or manipulation by Jonathan.
To which she complied, of the belief that finishing Nicole Jones's life or ending it would bring them closer together as a couple.
Caitlin admitted she gave Jonathan the ultimatum. Both Caitlin and Jonathan later gave statements where each tried to distance themselves from the critical moment of Nicole Jones's death.
And that they did this for a reason, because they committed out these acts together.
The evidence provided in court also included letters and calls between Caitlin and Jonathan from jail, where they expressed their love for each other. In one of these jail calls, Jonathan incriminated himself.
And one in which Jonathan Jones repeatedly directs Caitlin Coons to continue admitting to the murder so that the state would not think that he was the mastermind behind this crime, possibly giving him a lesser sentence.
The evidence against Caitlin and Jonathan was undeniable. Their actions were not only deliberate, but meticulously planned, culminating in the tragic murder of Nicole Jones. In the end, both Caitlin and Jonathan pled guilty to the charges, and they were sentenced to life in prison. Their lives, irreparably damaged, were the result of a series of disastrous choices, each more destructive than the last, trapping them in a reality from which there is no escape: life behind bars. Thank you for joining us. If this story captured your interest, please remember to like, subscribe, and activate notifications. Share your thoughts and insights in the comments section below. Your perspectives enrich the dialogue and bring depth to the stories we share. Until next time, take care and stay curious.